right, recording. Yep, looks good. All right. Stuff my teeth. Nope. All right, let's stop the recording. All right, I think we're good. All right, cool. All right, my friends. So I got, yes, we are recording. I got JP Page, who does a channel called JPTV3000, JPTV3000 on YouTube. And where I came across JP is when I first, and I'll share this with you too, JP, is interesting. So I first quit my job. I was the first year as self-employed JP. I wasn't making any money. I said, man, I wonder if I can go to work in the oil field and just work for a couple of years and save up some money because, I got 4 kids, a wife and 4 kids and no income coming in. I was like, so I started looking at videos. We were actually in Texas back then. My wife's friend was in Dallas. I remember we were over there for about 2 weeks during Christmas. I just started looking up all these videos on oil fields. I said, man, maybe I'll get a job in Midland. Maybe I'll get a job in Williston. And I just started looking around, and I came across your videos. And they're the best videos on the oil field that I've seen because you do them consistently. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so, and then my business actually, it actually began to take off a little bit. So I didn't need to do that. But I like the videos that you're doing. Now, you're in Williston. You're back in Williston, North Dakota. Is that right?
Yep. It got really hot in Mississippi. And I've been up here for a certain number of years where I'm not acclimated to that heat anymore, and I did it for as long as I could, and I'll just wait till it cools off, and then I'll go back home permanently. I've enjoyed the Bakken for a long time, man. I've met great people up here, and I've had one of the best experiences in my life up here. It's just the outlook with the coronavirus affecting everything it's not looking good up here right now.
So you are you in a man house right there? Are you renting your own place or what? Like, are you just up there until it cools off and you're moving back? Is that the plan?
It's a combination of two of those. I'm waiting on it to cool off and then I'm gonna move back home. Oh. And this is my apartment. I've had an apartment for about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
I did the man camp. Man camps are awesome, especially for a single person or for somebody who's going to be traveling back and forth, because they have different kinds of work, rotation work where it's 14 and 7, 20 and 10, 21 and 14, 15 and 15. It just kind of depends on the company. And there's always been options for people if they wanted to go home.
Okay.
And I just found that with my personality and the things that I like to do, that having an apartment up here is better for me. Okay. Because I lived in my van and it sucked.
So you lived in your van up in North Dakota initially. Yep. Wow.
Yep. When I first came up here, I think some of my earlier videos is me living in my van when I first came up here, because I even lived in it on my off days because we would work 14 and 7. So I would live in my van on the 7 days off, and then we would go to work for the 14 days and have company housing and all of that. But I've seen a lot up here, bro. I've seen a lot.
So all right, so let's start with JP. So you're from Laurel, Mississippi. All right. Yep. You're 39 years old, and you said at some point, I want to dive into a little bit your background in Mississippi, but at some point you said, look, I need to get a job, and or I hear people making big money in the oil fields. And what brought you to Williston? Like how long? And just tell us the background of that.
Well, it was I was driving trucks over the road, and I was making pretty good money for the state of Mississippi. For living in the state of Mississippi, if you're making $500 a week, you're doing pretty doggone good. If you're making $750 a week, you're doing even better. And if you live inside the state of Mississippi and you by some chance of a miracle are making $1,000 a week, hey, you can go slap people with dollar bills if you want to. It's that kind of a thing. I don't promote that anybody go around slapping anybody with money, but you catch what I'm saying. So I was making pretty good. And I had worked at a Warner for about 2 years. I'd already knew that I wanted to take about 4 to 6 months off because I like to do that from time to time. I like to work, save up money, and then take a consecutive period of time off. and I've always enjoyed doing that. And I was in between driving trucks over the road, and I was looking for another job, and I had applied at a company called Tyson. They haul chicken, you know.
Yeah.
You heard of Tyson Chicken?
Oh yeah.
And
Big time. Yes.
I was getting ready to go work for them. I had done a drug test, background check, all of that. And a week before that, I saw something on the internet about the Bakken and oil field.
Right.
And when I saw it, I thought, like, yeah, I forgot all about the oil field since I started driving trucks over the road. And I started looking into it more, and I started looking at the numbers that they were talking about. I'm like, hey, that's like twice what I made for the entire year. Because my best year driving over the road, from what I can remember, because I don't have the paperwork here in front of me, my best year was $42,000 or $43,000 for an entire year of consistently running. I was on a good account. I hauled Walmart for 3 or 4 months. I did Coca-Cola for about 6 months. So I had a good consecutive running year. And my best year was about $42,000 to $43,000.
All right. All right.
And that's gross. Then I came up into the oil field, man, and my 6 months, I made $38,000 gross. And now I'll take that back. I made $41,000 gross, and I was working 14 on and 7 off. You can't go back to normal after that, bro. Because the first time I got my check and it said $3,200, it didn't register as $3,200 in my mind. It registered as $320.
Right.
I got the second or third check. It's like, oh, this is where it's supposed to be.
And you get 7 days off in between too, right? I mean, you're getting 7 days to do whatever the hell you want to do in between.
And it's nice, man. It is nice to have that time off. And then working in the oil field, that's when I learned about all of these other avenues that the oil field has, because it's just like trucking in a way. Yeah. When people see and they think about trucking, they think almost one-sidedly. They see, okay, I'm gonna be inside of a truck, and you know I'm gonna be driving all day, and like, wait, a lot of people they're over exaggerating their expectations of what trucking is. Trucking isn't just driving. Trucking is the CDL, and the CDL will take you to the limitless bounds that the CDL has. I've done work up here just because I had a CDL. People have hired me to do stuff just because I've got a CDL. People have offered me opportunities just because I've got a CDL. Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that.
What I noticed in a lot of your videos, you talk about that having a CDL is like the gate opener. You know what I'm saying? So if you're thinking about going up there, getting a CDL, I just see, and I actually, when I was doing my own research on thinking about it, I said, I don't have a CDL. I said, watching your videos and watching some of the, you know, you do that, we pick out the paper, JP, and you show the employment ads and all these various things, and like CDL. All right, so how long, what year did you get up there?
I got up here in 14.
Okay, so you've been there a while. Okay.
Yeah, so 2014 was my first year up here, and I drove up here, and I'll tell you the whole story because I've told it to people before. Like I said, I was looking for work, found one, was getting ready to go do something else. Then MBI, which is a company that is no longer in business up here, they called me. I did a Skype interview over the phone, and they said, yeah, we want you to come on up. We're going to pay you $25 an hour. And I said, oh, okay, yeah. Packed up all my stuff. I went and found a Chevy Astro van, which I have down there in my garage. If my Wi-Fi was working awesome, I would go show it to you. But I packed all my stuff up. I retrofitted out the van. I built a box out of wood to put all my stuff up underneath it. Put cloth over it. Got a mattress, a blanket, a pillow. Dude, I was ready to go. I'm talking about something that looks good and looks presentable. So if I open up the door and show it to somebody, they're like, oh, it's not like, whoa, what you got going on here? You know, so it's something to go through that. But then after I drove all the way up here, ran out of gas in Nebraska, and then finally got gas, and then I was able to finish the drive. I got to Belfield, where the NBA office is, and they said, well, instead of paying $25 an hour, we're going to pay you $19 an hour.
What?
Now, at the time that he said that, when that guy said that, I was looking at him in his face, and I was thinking to myself, you couldn't have told me that before I left driving. Because that's a 1,700-mile trip, man. That ain't no ain't no easy trip to just. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna think about it. And I told him, oh, give me a couple of days to think about it, because it was that Thursday when the interview was, and after I had the interview, which I kind of knew I wasn't going out to work. And Belfield is in the middle of nowhere.
Okay.
In every way. So I kept on coming up 85, came through Wofford City before they were finished with the highway in Wofford City, and I finally got to Williston. Spent the night in my van in Williston. That Friday, I went around, kind of looked at the town, and I happened to come to the unemployment office. And in 14, the unemployment office had a bulletin board that had the days and the jobs that were available for the day.
Right.
This bulletin board was on the wall, and the jobs went from the bulletin board to the floor, which is about a good 6.5 feet of jobs. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And this was like that every single day. So after I saw that, and I went to one place, and I told them that I had a CDL. Right. They asked, "You want to start today?"
Yeah.
They didn't ask me to fill out an application. They didn't ask me anything. They asked me if I wanted to start today. Yeah, we can get you working tonight. And after that, I was like, you know what? Let me think about this for a minute.
Right. Oh, man.
I'm gonna say, then after that, it was just there was no going back after that, man. I saw the potential. I saw the opportunities from being somebody who I was standing on the side of the road at the command center, which is now HireQuest. It's one of the hiring agencies that we have here in the area. Standing out there, just talking to people, making small talk, and somebody pull up in a pickup truck. Hey, we're paying $18 an hour to do construction cleanup. Any of you guys interested? Like that don't happen in normal life, man.
Right.
So
not for that kind of money. What? So I mean, it's just is that? But it ebbs and flows, right? I mean, they got the 6-foot-long help wanted thing, and now a couple years later they don't. Now they have. I mean, what's going on up there now, though? I mean, what is that because coronavirus and all this is? We're not seeing that. Is it just a dying industry, or what's your take on what's happening right now?
It's right now it's the coronavirus. It's 100% that.
Okay.
Because the oil market up here is different from the way it is in Texas. Texas has a port by itself. So Texas can store it. Texas can ship it. Texas can refine it. Texas can do everything that they want to. North Dakota is going to have to build up to that point.
I got you.
And most of North Dakota stuff is transported out. So it's transported to Illinois. It's transported to other places that have bigger refineries. Even though the North Dakota sweet crude is a better fuel when it comes to making diesel, because it's almost to the point of diesel, and sometimes it is depending on how sweet it is. For example, if you go up north of town, those wells tend to be a lot sweeter. So you can go to a Getty box and you open it up, and it looks like somebody poured some diesel off in there. So it's like a different process versus crude. One of them has been processing in the ground longer than the other one, so you get variations in the kinds of oil that you have. And
you didn't know any of that. You didn't know any of that before you started up there, right? I mean,
dude. There was a time when I tried getting into the oil field before I had my CDL. I was applying for jobs, didn't know what I was applying for, didn't know what the jobs did, and all that kind of stuff. But now that I work in the oil field, I kind of understand how and why it's difficult for people to get into the oil field, because if you've never worked in the oil field, you have no idea. The oil field is it's its own world. It's its own it's a lifestyle in a way. And what you said just a minute ago, yes, the oil field goes ups and downs, because I've always told people that I've been told by people when I first got in the oil field up here in 14, they said, man, save your money because it goes up and down.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until my first year in the oil field. 14, everybody was balling out of control, bro. Let me tell you, in 14, there was nobody was thinking anything could crash, and the crash came in 15, bro. I wish I was making videos as much then as I do now, because everybody was riding around, or 70% of the people were riding around in $3,500 a 3,500 truck dually diesel, blowing black smoke in Main Street, Williston on the weekend, Friday, Saturday. Everybody would just go back and forth, and that's what everybody would do. You can find a few videos online of that time, but during that time, man, it was so much work going on that people didn't have time to make videos, bro. I made my first video maybe the third or fourth day after I got to Williston, and I didn't make hardly any videos after that because it was work and sleep, work and sleep.
Right. And then 2015 rolls around, it's lots of sleep and not much work.
I'll explain it to you the way Tim explained it to me when he called me on the phone the night when it happened. I had quit because it was my first taste of coal, and I never experienced a -10 before. So after experiencing that in November, I talked to Mike, my supervisor. I said, "Hey, Mike, I'm enjoying my time here with y'all, but I gotta go." Because in my mind, to have -10 in November told me, oh, the rest of the winter's gonna be like this? And I'm like, no, I'm good. And then, I was fracking at Neighbors NCPS, which is no longer here now. It's CNJ, and I think CNJ is also on their way out. And also, to give you a little bit of background, fracking is some work. There's a video on my YouTube channel about fracking. Fracking is some work. And not only is it work, and you have to work with 7 to 9 people every single day for 14 days straight. And you're lifting 4-inch, 3-inch long joints, and you're carrying them, putting them in place, holding it, winging them on, hammering them down, and you're doing this until all of the iron is put together. You're hooking up all the hoses. I can't explain fracking to somebody unless you have done it.
Right, understood.
But 15 came around. I was at home chilling, and Tim had called me and said, "Hey, Jerry, man, stuff's slowing down here." And we talked for a little bit. Then maybe a couple of days after that, he's like, "Jerry, I think they're getting ready to lay people off." Because he told me that they had laid off a few people. But then the second time, he's like, "Man, they're calling people into the office, Jerry. I don't know what's going on, bro. Hey, man, somebody called me. I got to call you back." The dude called me back about 30 minutes later. "Jerry, man, they just laid everybody off at 1 o'clock at night, told them that they had to vacate the premises and they had to surrender all of their company equipment."
Oh.
At 1 o'clock. This was in February, bro.
Oh.
And up here, February is when you're not getting out of it. You have waves of cold in November, December. Mid-January is when it's about to drop off, and it's not going to come back until March. February, it's cold and it's not going to warm up.
So I mean, what do you do? I mean, what? What do you do? I can't believe. I mean, I can believe it. I just what?
Not only that. So Neighbors weren't the only ones to lay off, because Halliburton laid off. Neighbors pretty much cut everyone except their office staff, which was probably 10 to 15 people. So all of them people that they put out laid off. they had to go get somewhere to stay
I was
until
gonna
they can.
say, you got no place to go. You're out. You're put out.
Not only that, anybody else that was trying to stay up here during that time were probably already in hotel rooms. So it was either stay in your vehicle, pack your stuff, start driving to whatever state you came from, or hopefully you could find a room somewhere until you could try and figure out something.
So what did you do?
That's why there's one of the statements that I've always heard people say, and I find myself saying, the oil field ain't for everybody, bro. Hey, when it's going good, you ride it as long as you can, save as much money, and that way when the downturn comes, you're good. And that has been one of my philosophies for the longest, since that 14 and 15 years. Because I came back in spring of 15 and it was totally different. The town was totally different. It was still work, but that security blanket of oil field money is here to stay forever.
Right.
That was gone.
Man, well, no wonder why people get. They're putting you out on a February in North Dakota, and all the other places are already taken up because everybody else is going through the same thing. Never mind that just it's hard to stay committed, JP. If that's the way they're going to treat you, how would you? You got to take care of number one, obviously. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're saying, you got to take care of yourself first and foremost. All right, so then you're back up there September 15, and it's a different town. And now is it starting to ratchet back up again at 15? You know what I'm saying? Or what's happening for the next few years?
Well, 2015, I got back up here in the spring of 2015, and I kind of took my time looking. I did some frac fueling, which is something that I like, and it's a job that I would tell people who are serious about coming to the oil field during that time, if they were serious about coming to the oil field, to look into frac fueling, because you can make a good amount of money. You won't wear your body out, and it pays really good. You can get good benefits. You'll get great hours. It's just, it can be long hours, but it just depends on the person. Like if somebody wanted to grind it out and get money, you could easily make $100,000 a year, and all you're doing is fueling up equipment, getting back in your truck, playing on your phone, watching a movie, fueling equipment, repeat. You do that 3 or 4 times, and you do about 3 or 4 cycles of that. It's time to go home, repeat the next day. And it's an awesome job because you get to be involved directly with what goes on in the oil field process. And just
frac fueling,
because it's all right for your audience that's not familiar with the oil field. Mm-hmm. The oil field works in segments. So they'll come in, they'll do the geology first. Is there resources down there? Can they get to? How much is it going to take? They'll come in, they'll put in the initial casing, and some of this stuff I don't know all of it because I don't remember all of it. Then after they drill the pilot hole, they'll come in, they'll start drilling, cementing, and then they'll start working. But it's drilling first up here in North Dakota. After they drill, they'll come in with frac, and they'll frac in their wireline each well. Then after frac and wireline is gone, either coil tubing or workover rig will come in, and they'll drill out the plugs. Okay. Then after they're done with that, while they're doing that, they're getting the well ready to start producing. This is where they're bringing in the treater shacks. The treater shacks are processing stations where they can separate oil, sand. If there's any sand that's still coming back, it'll be very, very, very little amount of sand. Oil, a little bit of sand, water, H2S gas, which is a deadly gas. Benzene, pretty much anything that they can separate from water to oil so that they can get it either pipelined out or a truck can come in and haul it off.
Right. That's interesting. So there's a certain job for all these things. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw a couple of your videos, and you're kind of going over the different jobs and stuff, which is because I don't know anything about it, and I'm not doing it. But it was just interesting because you think I'm going to work in the oil field, and like you said initially, it's like, well, that means I mean, that's that's like I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna go to Spain. All right, that just says you're going to Spain. It doesn't say where. You see what I'm saying? It's like, go. What does that mean exactly? And are there still jobs up there now? I mean, can people go up there now and find work, or is it? I mean, forget the coronavirus for just a second, but let's just say we get this under control by January. We'll just use that for example. I mean, are there jobs to be had still if we get the coronavirus under control?
If you're talking about January, it may be 6 months to a year after that, because it's the flow of the market. Because if you look at everything before, because I've said this to other people, man, 2020, it started out so good, bro. 2020, everybody was killing, man. We were all doing good. And then all of a sudden it just, man. But yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And from where we were to get back there, it takes everything going back to normal. So if it's a slow process, then the oil field coming back is going to be even slower, because the oil field is behind it, because the oil field is supplying the industry, and the industry,
that's a good point.
The industry commands the demand.
Yeah, I get that's, man, 100. It's interesting. You said the beginning of 2020. The beginning of 2020, I was making more money in the first 3 months, and I was like, this is insane. And then it just fell off a cliff. It's interesting you said that the same thing on the oil field. I think that's probably what happened across the country, actually.
Everybody has said that 2020 started out so good, but maybe that's what it is. America was just doing too good, and I don't know. I'm not trying to say anything, but maybe the rest of the world was like, hey, we need to get in on some of that. Because with OPEC came along, with the OPEC decided to raise production, which that's another thing that I bring up for people that don't know. If you subtract the coronavirus and we had just had to deal with OPEC by itself, that wouldn't have hurt us. We wouldn't have. I mean, stuff might have slowed down for
right.
A couple weeks, but nobody would have been laid off. None of this stuff you're seeing right now would have happened if we were just dealing with the OPEC production hike.
Right.
But the coronavirus made everything slow down and some stuff come to a stop. And
it never come back again, JP. Some of this is never coming back. It's crazy.
Because, dude, when they had the Ritchie Brothers auctions up here and all the companies that were liquidating their equipment, they were selling off everything. They had $1 million cranes for sale that sold for $250,000. Dude, when I'm telling you, matter of fact, they still got stuff up there at that auction. But that's just when it was going good, everybody was spending money, and now I can't tell anybody to come up here. I haven't made any job post videos because
nothing. Honestly,
in my opinion, I don't see it working out for me up here. Man, I've given it a lot of thought. I've looked into a lot of things, but I don't see it for me, it being worth staying up here. And I've been up here for some years. I've tried getting people to come up here. Yeah. I've tried friends and families to, just come up here and see how it is.
Yeah.
And nah, man.
Well, but I mean, you got a CDL, you got experience. Can't you go to Texas? That's close to Mississippi anyway. I mean, what is that something in the car? I mean, I don't understand. Like, why North Dakota, not Texas, versus Colorado? Why North Dakota's? I mean, I don't get it. Why can't you go to Texas if you want to? I'm not saying you do. I'm just asking.
North Dakota pays the difference.
That's what the money.
North Dakota pays. That's why this place is drawing people back, and it's drawing people here. Now, the price of everything is high, but when it was going average, I was making enough money where I have, and including now, and I have been paying for an apartment and all the utilities, and paying for my house note and all my utilities, including my internet back home. So when I go home, all of my stuff is on. And that's the kind of budget that North Dakota. Yeah, it's just different ballgame. It's just
so you could pay two households up there, where if you're in Texas, you couldn't.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I haven't worked in Texas, but I've heard repeatedly. I've kept in contact with people that work in Texas, and they tell me that it's a difference. It's a $20,000 to $30,000 difference a year. So you can see that. You can see that in a budget.
Well, especially if you're from Mississippi, where you said making $1,000 a month, you can slap people around with the money. I mean, $20,000-$30,000 a year in Mississippi is a lot of money. You see what I'm saying? I mean, hell, it's a lot of money anywhere. But I mean, in Mississippi, where it's the cost of living is a lot cheaper. That's. But I mean, then you got to deal with that cold. I don't know how does a guy from Mississippi get up to North Dakota? And just, woo! I just know.
Well, the thing that has helped me out is when I came up here both times, I came up in the spring. So most of the winter was over with, and by the time the spring starts coming around, it's just starting to get warm in Mississippi. Right. So it's like, hey, I get to avoid the winter in North Dakota, and I get to avoid the burning up in the summer in Mississippi. So it's kind of a perfect storm in a way. And like I said, I've been up here so long, I'm not used to that heat anymore.
Now, in the winter though, JP, are you working in February up in the fields? I mean, or they just close down because it's too cold?
Oh no, bro, no. The only stuff up here that closes down is construction projects, road construction, pavement. Because once it gets so cold,
you can't do anything, right? Man.
Once they get a certain number of days of negative, and it stays that way, they can't dig into the ground that much because they're just wearing out the equipment doing that. Right. That's the same thing. They tend to slow down in drilling because of trying to get into the ground is a problem. Plus, if they put the asphalt concrete down, it's not going to stick anyway. And plus, when frost season comes back and the moisture starts coming back out the ground, it's going to ruin all that.
Yeah, I got you. So you would be up there sometimes in the winter, but sometimes you could go back to Mississippi in the winter where it's not cold relative to up there. And then you get back in the spring, avoid the heat of Mississippi. And that's kind of like a best case scenario right there, right?
Yeah, for people that do construction work, like people that do cement and things like that, because they would work late winter, early spring, and they would work until about November.
That's okay. Gotcha. Yep.
And then they would get laid off, and then their company would pick them back up the next year to start back on the projects that they didn't finish, and the new contracts that they have. But the oil field keeps going, bro.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So the best way I can explain it to you is, people that made this joke, it's not funny, but we all kind of get a laugh out of it. Yeah, but as soon as we can go to war, man, the oil field's coming back. All we need is somebody to bomb somebody. I'm like, that is so wrong to say that, but
it's so true. So wrong, but so true. That's fact, man. You need a war machine, I guess, which is freaking sad. All right, so here's an important question. I mean, so I was in the Army, JP, up in Watertown, New York, and the infantry is nothing but men. You know what I'm saying? So you go to Watertown, and there's very few ladies. I can't imagine there's that many women in Williston. So, like, how do you – I mean, there's got to be some serious fights for over the few ladies there. I mean, there's got to be some serious how do you get for the women, I'm sorry to be offensive, but how do you get chicks? I mean, there's just – I mean, and I know, like, people bring their wives up there. I'm like, man, you're bringing them into a wolf's den. I don't know. How does that work with the women up there? You know what I'm saying?
It's not as bad as it used to be.
All right.
In 14, you could almost literally feel it, because in 14 they still had Whispers and Heartbreakers, which were the two strip clubs in downtown park. So I only went out a couple times to some bars and stuff. Went to the strip club one time, and it's like as each bar would close, the population from that bar and whoever was outside would go to the next bar, and then they would go to the next one, and then it would always end at the two strip clubs, because they're the last two things that are open. And if fights didn't start at one of the bars, the fights had to start at the strip clubs, because that's the last place that you got a chance to start a fight at.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was especially then, it was a lot more dudes than women.
Yeah.
The strippers were making more money than people that worked in the oil field. And by all means, it's easy. Because I remember seeing some strippers and I'm like, you ain't looking. But people are just throwing money. I mean, hey, what uh
Oh,
have you ever been to
man.
small towns like in the Midwest, Iowa, anywhere like that, Eastern Montana? You ever been any places like that?
No, I've never been. I've never been to I've never. I just got my familiarity with Watertown, New York, but it's not. I don't even think it's the same because we have Syracuse is 90 minutes away and whatnot. But I had never been to so small towns like that. I can only imagine.
I can't put it into words, man. I can't.
Ugh.
I can't explain the Bakken to somebody that wasn't at some point within the past 10 years to see it from the sales from 2010 to now.
But how do guys bring their wives? I'm just sitting there thinking, I'm watching these videos. I'm sitting, you're talking about dudes bringing their women up there. And I'm like, and kids, I'm like, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine doing that, JP. I can't, I just can't imagine bringing your wife and kids to this. It's, I mean, that's got to be, the money's got to be so good to do that you'd be willing to to move people from wherever the hell you're from up there. And I just, it's crazy. And you're not married, or are you married?
No.
All right. So,
not married.
So for a single guy, you're making bank, you know what I'm saying? Forget when the times are good. Yeah, you can go to a strip car and you just got money coming out of your ears. I just, man.
Because look at it this way. When it was rolling good, people were buying stuff just because
they had the money. Yeah,
it was there. I know guys that I've done it. I bought cars and vehicles going to the auction like, whatever it is, $1,500, $2,000. Yeah, I don't mind having a backup vehicle. But now getting ready to move home, I'm like, the hell I buy them damn cars for. But I always knew that the stuff that I've always bought, it was within my budget and it wouldn't break me if something was to happen. So that's how I always justified it. Plus, I always tried to buy something that I can at least sell it for what I paid for it, or make a little bit more. If I have to put $200 or $300 into it, I should still be able to get that back, and not take too much of a loss, or at least get some kind of a profit out of it.
Yeah, but how many guys have that knowledge? I mean, that's common sense to you and I. You know, I'm 50, you're 39, so we're older, but I got a feeling you got a lot of young guys up there who they're 19, 20, just young kids, you know what I'm saying? And they don't have that same kind of knowledge, and they're just blowing it through like it's always going to be there, you know?
Well, I can say now from like 2018, 2017 up until now, I think a lot of them have kind of got it and heard about it when they came up here. Okay. But in 14 and 15, you know how many vehicles got repossessed up here? Like, dude, and I'm not talking about just pickup truck. Right. I'm talking about a Dodge Dually 3500 mega cab with custom rims on it. Yeah. And everything else you could think of. And that's all you saw all day long. Like the diesel trucks, pickup trucks, and then all of a sudden to come back, it's like, oh, that truck is sitting at the dealership. Yeah, I remember that truck too, sitting at the bit. But it's just like you said, it's a cycle, but it's a cycle that has ups and downs. The coronavirus is different. That's different. Man. That's totally different, man. The oilfield hadn't seen anything like this, because when the housing market crashed, that didn't really affect the oil field because people kept going to work. Right. And with people, when everything came to a halt in that March, April, May, you have to double that time. So that's a 3-month period. Then you have to add another 3 months on top of that to start to see the industry pick up. And then if the industry doesn't pick up, well, my bad, not the industry, but if the work market doesn't pick up. Boeing doesn't keep making planes.
Exactly.
Delta
Right.
and especially when it comes to airplanes, because that's a lot of fuel right there. And the oil field has always supplied that, and has always supplied the plastics and polymers and all of that stuff. And I also learned that. That's why I learned all of that stuff comes from that stuff out the ground. If it's POLY, if it's OLY, if it's OUCOUS, OUI, it comes out the ground.
So, man, that's if it's POLY, just for simplicity, that means it's an oil-based process.
Yeah. That stuff that comes out that ground is different, bro. People can talk about, we can use plant-based oils. Right. You can, but it won't give you.
Right.
It's the differences between like natural gas, gasoline, and diesel. Natural gas won't do what gasoline will do. Gasoline won't do what diesel will do. And when you look at what diesel will do, it's a totally different ballgame. When you get to earth movers, like that's a different ballgame, because you would tear the entire planet up getting the amount of lithium out of it to try and power earth movers. You want diesel because you can easily get it. It's a trash fuel, but it works great for torque and power.
And man, so I love hearing that. Frank, I just get tired of people saying we don't need all this stuff. I'm like, if you want to live the way you're accustomed to living, you need those fossil fuels because they all serve a different purpose, and you're not going to get it from solar, and you're certainly not going to get it from wind. That's just electricity, and we need the fossil fuels to run the society that we want to live in. And all these people, JP, are like, oh, we just go back to 1700s. Like,
no, you ain't trying to do that, because people say that, but the only way you can do that is if everybody becomes a farmer. Everyone starts providing their own food, their own meat. And look, I like my cell phone and my TV like everybody else, and I know people ain't trying to give that up that easily.
I guarantee you they like this thing right here to be able to talk to And so, all right, so now you're going to go back to Mississippi. All right, so what's waiting for you down there? So it sounds like you might have, some reserves set up. You got a house down there, you said?
Yep.
All right, so what are you going to do down there? Like, all right, so are you going to get back over the road? Are you going to run a farm, or what are you going to do?
More than likely, I'm going to go back to trucking. I've got some options and some opportunities to do some things with videography.
Yeah.
The thing with trucking is I know trucking really well.
Yep.
And I'm not bragging, but I am a great truck driver, and I've had my incidents up here. I've gotten stuck. I've run off the road because it's just, I'm the type of driver where I'm gonna get there.
Right.
It don't matter what the speed limit is. It don't matter how bad it's snowing. I've got pictures and videos from snowstorms that we had here where you couldn't see anything. I couldn't see where the lines were, but as long as I went slow enough, eventually I'm gonna get there. I stuck on well locations because as I went across the cattle guard, what looked like the entrance,
right,
and it's that I've been to, I don't know how many times, the entrance wasn't there because it was packed with snow and it went down like this. So as I drove, the truck was driving on the snow, and then the snow caved in and the truck is just sitting there.
Oh, that happened to you?
Yeah, I'm not the only person it happened to, because it kept snowing. And after they told me out, they still needed somebody else to go pull another load, and nobody had plowed the well location. So somebody else did the exact same thing, came in there. And it looks like you can drive onto it because the way the well pad goes down, it looks like it's even, but it's not. So when you drive off from the cattle guard, it just goes straight down.
So how far down are you going?
It's probably about, from where the road is to the bottom, it's probably about 20, 30 feet.
Oh.
But halfway down is the cattle guard. So there's a driveway, but with the snow there, the truck compacts the snow, and then you hit soft snow and you pump off. And I've gotten stuck. I've worked up here through mud season, and mud season is pretty much the springtime, and that's when.
Oh, I can only imagine, man. Oh, that just sounds horrible.
It's fun.
But now, when you're, are you scared for your life? You're like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's gotta be scary, man. Falling off the.
Not really. It's more along the lines of it sucks because now I got to sit here until somebody comes and pulls me out. If somebody can come and pull me out.
That's what I'm saying. Well, if they can't, well, if, I mean, you know, you'd be out there for a long time. You know what I'm saying? Jeez.
I mean, well, being a truck driver up here, I've done 24 hours like it's nothing because I'm having to transfer water from drilling. They're getting ready to break everything down and move to the next well pad, and they got to wash all of the equipment before they can put it on the road. They can't transport that stuff with invert in it or invert on it or those other oil field chemicals. So all that stuff has to be washed. So I'm bringing water back and forth, just moving water from one side of the location to the other side of the location. So I've done 24 hours before. You know,
Yeah,
it's
right.
about preparing, making sure that you sleep good, make sure that you have enough snacks and food.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, absolutely.
Time.
Just being prepared, man. Just make sure if you go, no, 100%. In fact, we can all learn from that with the coronavirus. Just make sure you got enough toilet paper, which is weird, but hey, make sure you got enough toilet paper.
Exactly. I thought that was a joke, bro. When people were talking about toilet paper, I thought it was a joke because somebody at work I kept hearing people, "Hey man, you got toilet paper?" I thought it was code word for something like drugs or something. You know, like toilet paper. Then after a week went by, somebody else said something. They asked me, "Hey man, you got toilet paper?" I'm pretty sure I got some toilet paper. Why? You better go get some. You got none. Like why? Ain't no toilet paper. There's a run on toilet paper.
It's the craziest thing.
There's a run on toilet paper.
Of all the stuff there'd be a run on, toilet paper is what.
Yeah. Then I went to Walmart because I had to go. I went to go get something to eat or something. And something just like, let me go check and see. Because you don't think it even. I walk by Walmart and there's no toilet paper,
Nope.
paper towel. Everything else was in Walmart. Because when I saw that, I kind of started to worry. But then I say, let me go check the one area that if there's nothing there, I need to panic.
Right.
I went over there where they have the cases of water at. It's all full. Okay. Yeah. If we got cases of water in Walmart, I'm good.
Not bad.
If you go to Walmart and ain't no cases of water there, bro, it's time to start worrying about it.
Because you need water. If there's no water, we're in a world of hurt. If they got no toilet paper, we can find something else. Oh man! All right. So when you get to Mississippi, you think you're gonna miss the oil field in like 6 months? You're like, man, I need to get back up there. You know, spring's gonna be setting in, and it looks like the coronavirus is behind us. It looks like, you know, heaven forbid we're in a war. But you know, just you think you're gonna miss it?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
I enjoy the challenges that North Dakota has. You know, coming up here in the wintertime and going through the winter, especially having to work outside. And I've worked on the production side, so I've worked outside of trucking where I had to be outside in the winter. I've had to be outside and be rigging up iron and equipment in an ice storm where they shut down the roads where we couldn't get trucks in and out to bring water in and to bring water out. So I've been through it all. I've seen it all. I've driven in blizzards. I've driven on ice. I've driven on snow. And another thing about Western North Dakota, they don't really believe in plowing snow until it all falls.
Yeah. All right.
So you can imagine how that is. The only places they do is the interstate and major highways. Outside of that, they wait till it all falls and then they plow it. By then, it's gotten packed down with ice. And if you've lived up here, you know that in December, especially December and early January, it'll warm up, melt during the daytime, and then freeze back over at night, and people are getting into wrecks. It happens every single year. But hey, it's just part of living up here. But as far as missing it, yes and no, because I've met great people. I've had good experiences up here. I've made a lot of money up here, and I've done it. I've done exceptionally well. I have overachieved in the oil field in North Dakota, in the Bakken in North Dakota. So I don't have anything that I would say bad about it, because what I've gotten out of it that's so good is financially, the
Yeah.
experience, because I've got enough oil field experience to where I feel comfortable going back to trucking and just staying in trucking if I want to. I've got enough resources to where one of the goals that I had was to get my own truck when I first came up here. I've got money to buy my own truck.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's an option that I don't immediately have to turn to, but it's available there to me because of the oil field. Where the oil field goes from now, man, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know, bro. I don't have any positive outlook. Yeah, I don't have any positive words for anybody, and I've always tried to,
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. But
It's I mean, that's the I couldn't agree more. We have no idea. You know what I'm saying? Hell, they're trying to shut down. Oh, no, just it's too bad. All right, so you go back to Mississippi. You're still gonna do your videos. You know what I'm saying? You still got your CDL. I want to talk. You interviewed two guys, some older black guys, and I thought it was incredibly interesting video. JP, you still got a couple minutes. You're up against it.
dude, you can do whatever you want, bro. hey, it's not like I'm working or anything right now. You got all the time in the world, bro. I have no questions.
My little guy here, he just wants some loving. So I said, come on over, Pablo. So he's sitting on my lap now, if you're wondering what I'm doing. But all right, so here, if I could, like I said in my email to you or my text, I'm a white guy from Maine. And we talked about before we start recording that Maine's this whole different world than the rest of the world. It really is, because it's all by itself. Not many black people in Maine.
Oh yeah, I know.
Have you been there? You been to Maine?
I haven't been to Maine, but I've met some people from Maine. I've met very few black people from Maine.
No, there's not very many.
Exactly. I've talked to them and I've got to know them, and from talking to them, like, ain't a whole lot of us up there. I've also traveled around America to where I see the difference. It's like going to rural Iowa, or like going to rural Indiana. This is like that. Hey, black folks just ain't there, bro. That's like, if you subtract the oil boom from this part of North Dakota, bro, nobody would have known where Williston was.
No, that's well, it's interesting too, because not only am I from Maine, I was actually born and raised on an island off the coast of Maine. So it's a very small island, like 500 people. And when my folks split, my dad moved to DC. He literally lived in DC off South Capitol Street, and there's no white people there. I remember I said, Dad, I really appreciate you want me to be experience black people, but I'm the only white guy, and there was no blacks where I'm from, and it was very interesting for that first year. And then my dad said, well, we'll move one county, one just a little bit over, so it'll be a little bit more diverse with a few more whites.
You need to prepare your kids for stuff like that. You gotta just spring that on.
That's what I said. So yeah, I still have my accent. So it was interesting, and I appreciate my dad's sentiment. But one thing JP shared with me always, he was from California, and he hitchhiked across the country. This is back in the 60s when he was a hippie. And he always shared this with me and never went away. He was in a diner in Kansas City, either Kansas, Missouri. And he said there's this well-groomed older black guy was trying to get food in this diner in Kansas City, and they wouldn't let him in. And it wasn't that they wouldn't let him in. It still kills me to this day. They wouldn't just let him in, but they were the wait staff. You know what I'm saying? They were yelling at him, just being horrible to him. And my dad said that stuck with him because he's from South Los Angeles, and it was more Mexicans and whites than it wasn't that many blacks in terms of what he was accustomed to. But he never, and this in Kansas City. Yeah. He said, I'll never forget that. It stung him bad, like how bad it was. And I'm just looking at these black guys. It might be even you too, but I'm looking at these older guys, and I'm just sitting there thinking they love Mississippi, and I'm just sitting, and you do too, and I'm like. And I don't know what, I just find it incredibly just honorable, frankly, to see a state that has been so bad and yet you still have so much love for this place. And it's more than just the name of the state, but inherently it's got to be the people too, or else you'd get the hell out of there. And I'm just sitting there thinking, how do you do that? And I'm always wondering, like, how does a guy or lady who's been dealt with in such a horrible way overcome that and say, you know something, this is still a good place. I don't know if you want to comment. I don't even know if I know what I'm talking about, but I've always sat there and I'm sitting like, how do these guys who love America, black guys, fought in the war, did all this, and yet came back and were treated like worse than, I just don't understand it. And I just, you have anything to say? I don't even know what makes sense, but anything to say to that? I don't want to put you on a spot, but it's just crazy to me in an awesome way.
And a lot don't mind, because I have conversations with people in passing. I have conversations with people from North Dakota to Mississippi, and I've always prided myself on listening to people, even if I ask them to take part in the interview and they're not interested.
Yeah,
I listen to them anyway, because you never know when you may get a piece of wisdom that you can use in life.
Right on.
And the best way I can explain it, being somebody that's from Mississippi, and I've experienced good and bad in and outside of Mississippi. I've experienced things in North Dakota. I've experienced things also at home. And the best way I can explain it to you is there's no place like home, and there's no place like where your roots are.
Yeah.
I grew up most of my life so far in the state of Mississippi. And I know interstate, I know Highway 84 and 59 like the back of my hand. I know Laurel, Ellisville, Hattiesburg, Hot Coffee, Mississippi, Lily Valley, Collins, Prentice, Bassville, Heidelberg, Waynesboro, and the list goes on.
Right.
And that place down there, it's almost like it's almost magical in a way, man. It sounds corny, but it is. It gets hot down there, but it never gets too hot that you can't be there or live there.
Right.
It never gets too cold that you can't be there or live there. For me, all you need is a hoodie. You're never gonna wear more than a hoodie.
Yeah.
It's green, and it's almost green year round.
Yeah.
And I was telling somebody I hadn't been home for like 2 years during the summertime. And I flew home one day after being up here about 6 straight months. And I went home and I saw the contrast between North Dakota in the summer and Mississippi in the summer. And I had to take my eyeglasses off a couple of times and kind of look around, because the difference in the way colors pop now, it's just a totally different ball game. And that place is beautiful. The trees and nature, and after it rains, hearing all the frogs and the insects come out asking for more rain, and hearing cicadas and the locusts, and hearing the rustle sound of trees and woods, and whenever there's a slight breeze, hearing the trees make noise and stuff. That's a song to life in itself, man. That's why people stay down there. I haven't spent much time.
Poetic. That is, man. That is. That's poetic, man. That's keep going. I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm sitting there thinking it's a song of life itself. That is so poetic. That keep going. No, right on.
Dude, I put it to people like this, which I'm pretty sure there are other places that are like that, but to live in the South, it's the definition of peace. Because we make jokes about how Mississippi in the South is a perfect place when you're done. When you're done chasing the world, when you're done chasing money, and you just want to enjoy life, the South is perfect to just go sit down and be happy with your family and kids. It's the perfect place for that, because the South isn't running trying to keep up with what California is doing, what Texas is doing.
Right.
Well, New York, Chicago, the South is it's its own pace, and it's not worried about what the rest of the world is doing.
Man. So that sense of peace, I'm putting words in your mouth, and correct me if I'm wrong, that sense of peace from the nature and the beauty allows one to be more forgiving, if that makes sense, to say, look, we've been done wrong, but at the end of it, and I'm putting words in your mouth, and I'm just saying that's what it sounds like I'm inferring, say, when you have that sense of peace from the beauty that is around you, you're allowing yourself to be more at peace with your internal self, which means you can be more forgiving for those who might have done you wrong. Does that make sense, JP? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but how does someone forgive for crap they were put before them when they had nothing to do with it other than the way they were born? And yet, I've always been amazed about people who can do that. And I wish we would get more of that, because my concern, frankly, is that we're gonna have more and more people not being able to forgive, and that's not going to lead to good things. And it's not just blacks or whites; it's everybody that just they want to find something to be upset about, and they want to hold someone else accountable. I don't even care what it is, and that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing, and that concerns me deeply.
Well, I look at it this way: when you get outside of major metropolitan areas, I can't even say that. All right, I'll give you a Mississippi example.
Yeah.
All right, majority of us live on our side of town.
Yeah.
Majority of them live on their side of town, but majority of they live on their side of town. Now, when you look across America is like that in a way.
It is. You know, it is.
Yeah, when you look at the southern states, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, I don't count Florida, because Florida is almost like an island.
Yeah.
Because it's tourist, but it's also the South. But those areas, everybody just kind of stays in themselves. You have troublemakers in every group, so
right.
So you have that, but everybody kind of stays in themselves. And I know personally from Mississippi, ain't no white people coming over to Queensburg. Queensburg is it's like an area in Laurel, Mississippi. Ain't no white folks coming over to Queensburg as a starting in. So a lot of the stuff that's on TV, it's made up to push and to encourage people and to provoke people into doing things. And then when you get people to do that, you can make money off of advertisers who want to advertise when you're talking about this subject, when you're bringing this up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that people have to deal with. But outside of that, man, when I went home, it was just people living their lives.
Yeah.
Me meeting people that I hadn't seen in a long time. Me meeting new people and having some of these same conversations with them. So it's part of just being a human being in life, man. We all got to deal with each other, and everybody wants their own space, but everybody doesn't want to share their space, and everybody doesn't have the space that they want, and it's like a cycle that keeps going. But we all got to live here. We all got to be here. And when you look at the world from the standpoint of an empire, the United States is an empire. And if we want to stay in this empire, maintain this empire, and enjoy the benefits of it, hey, we got to fend off everybody else that wants to take it.
Yep.
That's what it is. People may want to argue everything you can, but there need to be some simple, concrete, foundational things that, hey, when it boils down, it's America versus everybody else. And some people see it that way. Some people want to have their own groups and factions and this and that, and it's always been here. And it's not something that's going to change. It's not something that's going to get better. It's just one of those things we have to deal with being alive.
Man, you got to have some Irish in you or something, because the way you talk is very poetic, like an Irish writer. I'm telling you, I don't know if you follow any Irish folks, but those guys, they're about 3 million in Ireland, this tiny little island, and they write, like poetic, man. It's nuts. And, they were held by the English held down. not slaves, but not even close, but they were held. But the way they've come up and learned to use the word, the written word, and the man, it's breathtaking. You do the same thing. It's nuts. Actually, the way you talk about Mississippi reminds me of my island in Maine. Like, I took my wife up there once, JP, and she couldn't take it. She got island fever. And for me, hearing the foghorns, hearing the buoys and the water, that was like what you were just saying about
It's peace.
it's
Peace.
oh, it speaks to your soul. And she didn't get it because she's not from there. But I said, man, going to bed at night with those foghorns, those buoys, and the seagulls, I was like, oh, this is like, just like you said, it's. I was like, man, it's kind of like you being in North Dakota for, like, say, 6 years, away from where you're from, and then you're like, at some point I gotta get back there because that's where the peace comes. And it's man, that's fair. All right, so now they're getting. I hope. I hate to preface this. I think they're getting rid of the Confederate flag in the in Mississippi state flag. And that's got to be somewhat of a victory, right? I mean, that not just for blacks, but I mean, just at the end of the day, that's a good thing, right? Or what do you think on that?
It is, but also it isn't.
Yeah.
Because at least with the flag, at least with the Confederate flag, at least we know who is who. But without the Confederate flag, it's like, doggone it, now they can just hide around like everybody else. You understand what I'm saying? Because
no, I know.
It's weird for me being from Mississippi and seeing people flying the Confederate flag like around the 4th of July time, and I think Memorial Day they'll do it. They don't do it during New Year's because it's cold outside. But to see them flying that up here, to me, it's an insult because I know you ain't for real.
Right.
I know you ain't the real deal. You just faking it up here because that ain't never found its way up here ever. Right. You have to bring that with you, but it's a victory in a way, but also in a way it's weird, man. Because when I look at stuff in my lifetime, I've kind of seen it all.
Yeah,
I've seen a black president. I've seen the New Orleans Saints win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I've seen the Chicago Cubs win the World Series. I've seen the Confederate flag come down to Mississippi, which we were all shocked by that. At first, we're like, we thought it was clickbait. And other people were talking about it, like, oh, they for real. So it's one of those things where, you look at life like, I've seen a lot, man. I've seen a lot. Because when Barack Obama became the first black president, people don't realize that it was different depending on where you were at. Because I remember going to work that next day. Because I remember the night before.
Yeah.
Mama was sitting there watching TV, as they're talking about the votes and stuff. And I remember looking over at my mama out of the corner of my eye, and I could see tears coming down her face. Yeah. And I'll never forget that because for me, I felt the same way because who has an opportunity to see a first which you thought you would never see?
Yeah.
I can't phrase that in words. I can't. There's no words that you could use to explain that. It's like watching aliens come down from outer space for the first time. Or you understand what I'm saying? So that was something. But like I was saying, I remember going to work the next day, and I came into the doors of work, and I heard a conversation that people were having, and they were saying how, man, they can't wait to get them some free government money. And then after they saw me, like they kind of went off and whatnot, which I knew something had changed because when I woke up that morning, it's like, so it was almost like the world had gotten quiet. The way Christmas comes around? Yeah. It's like the world kind of gets still.
Yeah, oh, right, exactly.
And it was the same thing. Like when I woke up that morning, it was like, stuff was quieter. The noise of the world was quieter.
Right.
And you have an opportunity to live a life where you can experience stuff like that. Even right now, the coronavirus, this is different territory we're in, bro. I don't know where this is going. I know some of it is political, because when you have a situation like this, how you can wield power with it.
Yeah.
And if a person, organization, system, or political entity has ever been looking for an opportunity, boy, is this it.
This is it. The door's wide open, and they're taking advantage of it too, JP. You know what I'm saying? But people, a lot of these governors it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat. They're both doing it. They're taking advantage of it. It's nuts. Just going back to silence, that's actually pretty interesting, because I actually that's like you said, around Christmas, it's such the the realization of expectation, especially when you're a young kid. You're like, man, it's actually happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think about your mom, and I don't know your mom, but I mean, I just think, the crap hell, she couldn't even vote probably when she was first, or at least her parents couldn't. And now seeing the first black guy become president of the country that didn't allow her to vote, even if she didn't vote for him, I mean, it'd be like you said, seeing aliens. Like, you didn't expect it, and then there it is. And then the second time won't be that. It's like if the Chicago Cubs win again. All right, that's fun, but it wasn't as fun as the first time.
Was it the first time? Was it the first time? But that first time is something else, man. It's I guess it's in a way of a family having their first child, man.
Oh man, yeah, right on. Yeah, that's. I got 4. We had about 90,000 pitches of the first, 20,000 the second, and maybe 3 of the third, and we don't take any of the fourth. You know what I'm saying?
That's about it. It's like, all right.
But get out of here. I'm just joking. That's good stuff, man. All right, that's good. I hope you continue on the YouTube channel interviewing those guys. I mean, I don't know I have no idea what the YouTube algorithm is and all that. I've always been fascinated by people's stories of like your story, my story. We all got a story, and it's part of the human contract to know these stories of other people, and just like you said, just to listen. And I don't know, the guy who was selling. You got 2 guys you talked to. One was selling the vegetables. I forgot the name of that guy's farm that he brings from, but I think he said it goes back 3 generations or something like that. And he had a young guy next to him who wanted to learn. I said, man, that's good. This is good. This is good stuff. A young guy wants to learn kind of about how to raise vegetables. I don't know if he's raising, poultry or whatever. I don't know, but that's good. And I hope there's more of that. And then you have the older guy who, I think he said he went to Chicago one time, but other than that, it's just, I mean, if I ever go back to Maine, I'm going to do the same thing, because I just love hearing these like lobstermen from 3 generations old say, it's just interesting. And people got to hear these stories, because it shows that we have a hell of a lot more similarity than we do difference. And like you said, America is the only game in town for us. If America falls, I don't care if you're black or white, we're all doomed. You know what I'm saying? And we can't let that happen. That's just the way I look at it. But,
Well, also one of the things that I don't know if you've ever realized about what you're doing, but I also realize it about what I'm doing is when you help people, when you give people some information or some wisdom that they can go and they can help themselves with, they'll pass that down. But if you hurt somebody, they keep that, because when you hurt somebody, you do somebody wrong, it stays with them. But when you help somebody, they pass it down. Hopefully they don't pass down the hurt. But when you look at situations that we have in life and in this country, you can see how hurt does get passed down also.
Man,
but help people can also help bridge that gap.
Man, that's profound. That's because you got a fork in the road. You can be the helping side, which will be passed down. You can be the hurt side, which will also be passed down. And as I believe in Jesus, and I think Jesus knows which way he wants me to go. And man, how much do I violate that, JP? You know what I'm saying? How much do I violate that in my own living? I go down the hurt side because sometimes it feels good to put a hurting on people, and not physically, but you know what I'm saying? It feels good, but that's not. Yeah.
I want to say, since you said that, God's way has always been the simplest way to do it, and God has always dealt with human beings on the simplest way that you can deal with human beings. From don't mess with one thing, don't eat of one tree, and you have an entire planet that is yours.
Yeah.
People still argue that. Wait, you want to argue the belief or the existence of God, but you won't accept the reality of don't mess with one tree.
Yeah.
That's different from all the other trees.
Right.
Specified. Not only that, it's clear. It's not like it's in some woods and you can't tell what it looks like from everything else. And all you had to do was not mess with one thing, and that speaks to the totality of mankind.
Right.
We up our own wet dreams, man, and then argue that we didn't really do it and it wasn't our fault. And you can look through history and see a repeat of that exact same thing all the way to today.
Man. That's a good way to end. That's fantastic. That's man, I tell you, you just helped me immensely. You know what I'm saying? Because I always got it. You know what I'm saying? When you do YouTube, I work from home, JP. When you do YouTube, you can get your own insulated world, if that makes sense. And you kind of forget. Well, at least you're working out there with people, but you kind of forget that there's a big world out there too. And if you can bring help to people, you are going to be doing. And I think that's what God wants you to do. I literally truly believe that He does not want you to hurt people. And that just helps me a lot, because I know it's easy to get fallen for this, man. The devil's out there lurking. He's out there, and he wants you to be bringing the hurting on people, and that does not do anything other than help him. And that's good stuff. I'm glad you said that, because that's got me thinking too. How can I maybe rearrange my own thinking to be on the good side as opposed to the hurting side, because that does go downstream. You know what I'm saying? And that's
And I will look at it this way: you are. You're helping people with financial advice. And nowadays, everybody's looking for financial advice. People are not spending money, and people are looking at how they can make their money turn into more money, whether it's portfolio analysis, whether it's stocks, bonds, Vanguard, E-Trade, whether it's real estate, house versus land, property, farming, apartments. I mean, the list goes on. And you giving people options and giving people information that people may not realize is out there. And that's another thing. It's kind of what the internet has done with information. With the internet, all of the information, it's available to us. Versus before, we had to go through the legwork of going to the library and going to go look, which there was also a benefit in that, because you had to go do the hard work. Doing the hard work would polish you more because you had to go through it. And having the internet, you don't have to go through that legwork to find information. It's there, it's everywhere. And then there's a whole different conversation about how legit information that you find is. But that's a whole different, that's like a totally different conversation and a rabbit hole in itself. But the main thing is putting good quality information out there for people so that people can help themselves. And I've kind of always wanted to do the same thing. I was making videos, especially videos with other people telling their stories. And it's just, it's a fun thing to do. It's also challenging because I'll ask 30 people. One person might say yeah. It's also the learning in it also, where I have to learn to read people as the words are coming out of my mouth and seeing their reactions. Like, okay, I need to go up. No, they're not feeling that. Okay, I need to come over here. Okay, I found them right here. So it's something, man. Life is something.
Well, keep at it, because the more you do, the better you're going to get. And then I'm telling you, man, you're going to be the next Larry King out there with interviewing skills. And you'll be able to draw these people out like you, in a good way. I don't mean to exploit them. I just mean so they can actually share, because I think it's great. I love it. And I hope you keep at it, JP. All right. So when I'm going to take him out. He's got to go poopy. But when are you going to head back to Mississippi? Like in August or something like that? Or what's the ETA?
Yeah, more than likely, because there's one project, Exodus of the Bakken, I want to work on, and I want to at least get about 3 or 4 people that are interested in being in that
Wow.
one.
Yeah. Right. Cool.
Because from all the people leaving, there's stories that people aren't gonna be able to hear and know about. The adventure that they had. Why they're getting ready to finally move away from the Bakken, which we all know. And I can tell you right now, when I flew back here Tuesday night, like coming back into town.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday night, I should have passed by a certain number of 18-wheelers on the road. But when I passed by 2,
Ooh.
I'm like, oh, okay, all right, I see what's going on here. When I go by the truck stop, there by the Walmart, and I see 3, 4 trucks sitting over there in that truck parking lot, okay, I know what's going on. But this is what we got, man.
That tells you right there. That's coronavirus. Totally. Oh my goodness.
Because I've been telling people, man, people have to understand, you have to go to work. You got to keep that system going. It's just like the robots in the Matrix. Hey, one can't live without the other one. But stay positive, man. Keep doing what you've been doing, and you'll grow over time. And don't worry about YouTube. Just make sure you don't get any copyright strikes, so they don't take away your monetization and stuff, man. Because YouTube is funny about that.
And
Exactly. That face that you're making right there kind of lets me know you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, you hear about this copyright on the stupidest. Like, I'm just like, man, I'm not even going down that road because stupid stuff. You're like, YouTube, just come on, man.
Yeah, because I have to watch myself when I'm somewhere public. Because I made a video. I was at a car show and they have music playing over the intercom.
Right.
So my video got copyrighted strike because of that, and I ain't got no control over some music being played at a car show over the intercom. But hey, okay, it is what.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God, that's
But you know what? The way I look at it, it's theirs. It's not mine.
Yeah, that's
I'm just working on making sure that I can separate myself from that system if I need to, so that I still have everything that I put on there that's mine, and just making it and building it as mine.
Man, that's all right, so I'll put links in the show notes for your videos, JP. And I tell you, folks, if you are interested in the North Dakota, just look at his whole stuff. I mean, look at anything, and then he's going to show the exit from it. It's just good stuff. It's good quality stuff. You're going to learn more than the vast majority of people, unless you actually go there yourself. It's fantastic. Any last thoughts, JP? We'll let you get on your way. Man, I tell you, I really appreciate you being here. This has been it's been fun. It's been learning, and it's been good for the soul, if that makes sense. I tell you, man, it's good. It's good for the. I like the way you phrase it, man. Just the sound of the trees, or however you said that, man. That is, I tell you, that's fantastic. Anyway, any last words, thoughts, JP? Again, I'll put the links in the show notes to your video and all that, your YouTube channel. But anything you want to add?
I plan on transitioning from North Dakota to Mississippi, and one of the reasons is because what we talked about when it comes to the history of Mississippi. When you type in Mississippi on Google or YouTube or anything, I don't see a lot of stuff that represents where I'm from. So the only way to change that is if I go and change it myself. Yeah. Is if I go out to Hot Coffee, Mississippi, and I talk to people that are from there, what life in Hot Coffee is like, what life in Prentice and Bassfield and Heidelberg and all these other small places that people have never heard of.
Yeah.
And I would like to do that all over America, but I realize I need to start where I'm at. The same thing that I've done here, and I've also done it for other places around here, and it began to dawn on me that, hey, I'm doing this for a state that I'm not from.
Yeah, right.
And I'm contributing anything to where I come from, where my people are. And that's really what I want to focus on. And I don't know if I told you this in the beginning, but I realize I'm gonna have to start all the way back over.
Yeah.
Because the relationships that I've built here and people that I've met, I'm gonna have to redo that all the way back over at home. But one thing I have noticed between here versus at home is, at home, I've asked people right then, hey, would you be interested? And they said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've asked people, I've talked to the mayor of Laurel, Mississippi, and I talked to him the day, and he said that day, okay, yeah, let's set up a meeting to do it. I talked to the deputy sheriff, and he said, yeah, right then. And I just like, oh, okay, I'm stopping at and see. He said, yeah, and I made a video with him that day. Then left from there. I was like, well, since I asked them, I'll go ask the city police, and the police captain said, yeah, anytime. And I made a video that exact same day. And I say that because I have asked people up here that are in office, and I've asked people up here that are in the police department and the sheriff. I have went up there more times than I could possibly count, and they've told me the same answer. Oh, okay, yeah, we'll think about it. But when I went home and asked, they did it the same day, and I took it as seriously as I take everything else. I made it look as good as I possibly could, and I also try to make them look good as I possibly can. But I don't have to make somebody else look good when you're just having a conversation about who people are. People are gonna be them.
Yeah.
There's a few videos where, there's one video in particular where I was talking to a young man, and as he's talking, I knew right then, I'm gonna have a time trying to edit this, because he's saying stuff that a young person will say without thought to the future, without thought to where you might be at a year, 5, 10 years from now. And a video that was 30 minutes long, I had to cut out a lot of it because he went deep, bro. He went deep, bro. He went deep, and I couldn't see him, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah, but it was a lesson, man. It was a lesson. You laughing, so you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Well, those young people, you're like, man, that's why, JP, thank God they did not have the internet when I was growing up. That's all I got to say about that. Oh, my goodness, thank good Lord, because, it'd be ugly. So if anyone's from Mississippi and they want to reach out to you, obviously go on your YouTube channel and say, hey, I mean, I got people in Mississippi who talk to me. I don't know if they want to or not, but it sounds like you're game to anybody who wants to tell their story. Start with Mississippi, but you'd be interested in people reaching out to you.
Yeah, because when I wrap everything up here and I go home, my goal is to start in North Mississippi and work my way down with Interstate 55. There's a couple of people in Oxford, Mississippi, and I kind of want to just travel all the way down until I get home, making videos, interviewing people, and then just keep building as much material as I can. That way, by the time I get home, I've got one project after another another. Then I've also got pieces, different projects that I can put together into a larger project. So that's pretty much what I plan on doing, and building and making, and I'll just keep on pushing, man, because I'm making these videos and making posts and putting things on Facebook and YouTube. It's a fun thing to do, and I enjoy it. And it doesn't cost me anything because time doesn't belong to me anyway. So all I got is my choices, and I choose to do it, and I ain't got no regrets.
And it's fun. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. You know what I'm saying? You meet all kinds of new people that you never would have met, and you're showing their stories. Freaking awesome. Hey,
and stuff like this right here, I've only done one other kind of podcast like what me and you were doing,
Yeah.
and that's also an avenue. And I'm looking
Yeah,
at that, and so.
You think? Are you looking forward to Mike Leach taking over Mississippi State? What do you, real quick? What do you think? Are you like Southern Miss? I guess, right? Or who's your college football team down there?
I've never been much of a college football fan because I've always been an NFL fan.
Yeah.
Plus, with what Nick Saban has brought to Alabama,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, bro, hey, you can like whoever you like, you can like whoever you want, but you can't knock Nick Saban, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, he got to Alabama and changed everything. But be on the lookout for LSU now. I don't know if LSU has finally come back to the prominence that they once had, because hey, there was a time when it didn't matter who was playing, it was LSU, Alabama.
Yeah. It wasn't even that long ago, and then LSU kind of fell off, and now they're. I just saw you with I think you had a Baltimore Ravens shirt on. I said, oh man, maybe given from Mississippi, because I we'll see how it shakes. I'm not the biggest college football fan either, and living in Georgia, that's like that's the wrong answer, but. I'm going for Mike Leach and Mississippi State this year. The Bulldogs, JP, the Bulldogs. So I'm going to get some Mississippi State gear, and I'm going to flaunt it all around here in Georgia, and everyone's going to hate me. And that's I said that's fun.
Well,
all right, sir. Yeah.
I was going to say, you remember that year when it was Mississippi State and Ole Miss was number 2 and number 3?
I do. That wasn't that long ago. Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
I'll never forget, because I remember seeing on the news up here, and I'm like, wow.
Exactly.
Mississippi and North Dakota, and hey, I wish they could have went all the way. That would have been epic to just bring Mississippi out of the darkness, so to say. But they lost the game, so
it went downhill quickly after that for both teams. JP, they were 2 and 3, and they played, and then I can't remember who won, but after that, it's just like zoop. It's like a sinking ship. And, of course, Alabama, I think, just went on to good times, man. I appreciate it. Again, folks, I'll put links in the show notes for JP stuff. Sign up for his videos, please. Support him any way you can. This is what YouTube's good at. And he's on Facebook, too. JP, make sure you, if you don't mind, I'm not on Facebook. I got off that because I was going the wrong direction on Facebook. So I said, this is not good for my soul.
Facebook is like that, bro. Facebook is tricky like that, man.
Oh. YouTube can be like that too, but it's my own problem, and I got to deal with that internally. But Facebook was bad. But I appreciate it, sir. Many blessings to you. Thanks, and I could not be. This has been fantastic. This is way more than I expected. I love it. This is good stuff, and I wish you the best, man.
Thank you, man. Wish you the best. Stay safe. I have a JPTV3000 Facebook page that I'm currently working on, and also a podcast that I'm in the process of setting up. And I'm getting that up and running. And with that being said, man, thank you for your time. Stay positive out there and keep doing what you've been doing, man.
Hey, hang tight. I'm going to stop recording. All right, cool. So, oops.